morning and welcome to A Taste for the Road. My name is Scott and welcome to the 2018 Camaro SS 1LE. So the 1LE is a special product in the Camaro and Chevy range. It basically means it's track back, so you get a bunch of different performance related improvements. There are some aesthetics on the outside which are quite tasty, and then on top of that you get some other changes here, such as these Recaro seats. And so what we're going to do today is head out north and west of Washington, D.C. The owner lives in the city and has the car there. I got a chance to go ahead and rent it for the day and thought it would be a great opportunity to come out here where the roads are really nice. And on top of that, outside of Purcellville, Virginia, which has a nice downtown, there's also a great burger joint called Market Burger. Fries and shakes, which you should know about, seemed appropriate too, given the American Muscle that we're going to be test driving today. So as usual, we'll go ahead and head out there, as it's a little bit later on in the morning. Picked this up around 9:30 this morning, and head out there for lunch, see that, and then I'll check back in with you a little bit later on after I've had a chance to really put this car through its paces and enjoy it, and then give you a summary afterwards on its strengths and on its weaknesses and what I think really makes it unique in the marketplace. So let's head on over to Market Burger, and I'll see you there. Well, that was a really nice burger at Market Burger, fries and shakes. They also roped me into a vanilla shake as well. That was pretty tasty too. There'll be a traditional written review on tastefortheroad.com once this video drops, and I'll have a link for it below. So now it's into the late afternoon. I've had a chance to put this car through its paces on a variety of roads, and I thought it would be appropriate to go ahead and start talking about it, let you know what I think is unique and compelling and areas for improvement, and summarize as well. So the place to start, quite obviously, is around the car's performance, which is considerable. So this 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 up front produces 455 horsepower and 455 foot-pounds of torque at a little under 5,000 RPM. This particular example has a 6-speed manual, which has been really enjoyable to use, and has been a particularly nice gateway to that engine up front. The other thing that's compelling about it is in conjunction with what's going on around it. So this track pack has some pretty compelling bits of kit added, in addition to the Recaro seats that I'm sitting in that are really very nice. But on top of that, it comes with an electronic differential, and that differential has a cooler. The oil bath has a cooler too, as does the transmission. There are 5 different traction control modes, Most significantly, there are some magnetic dampers, which for those who might not be familiar with it, there are iron particles in a bath of oil, essentially. There is a magnetic charge that is put to that, and it can change the viscosity, essentially. It can make a shock more firm, and then also soften it up as well. And even with that, even in its track mode here, it's actually been surprisingly comfortable on a number of different pavements. Not the most chopped up pavement, to be sure, but it is beyond notable. It's really quite remarkable how good this car is, despite this package that is designed for essentially track days, that really makes it actually very enjoyable on the street. And here, as we are in late February, the roads are not in great shape in some cases, but this in no way has beaten me up today. Even in DC, when I was there this morning and driving around, it really wasn't that bad. And that's, I think, a real credit to the engineers at Chevy for coming up with a chassis. This is the Alpha platform. It's the same platform that's on the ATS, and it's impressive. It really is. The other thing that I think is notable here, or at least some of it anyway, is actually the tech. So while the screen is canted in an odd way, the visuals, it's very easy to see. and it has Apple CarPlay, Android Play, etc. And to get to the settings, to get to all of the information, to change various settings, such as the traction control, or change the magnetic dampers and so forth. Really just very, very easy to get to. Again, a credit to making it simple and easy to access and not be terribly complicated, unlike some competitors and so forth from Germany and elsewhere too, to be perfectly honest. I think in terms of the interior itself, it's a mix. So there are some very hard plastics here that are not terribly flattering, to be honest, and that look appropriate in a $15,000 runabout, not in a $46,000 car. I know some of you will probably respond by saying, hey, you're really buying a motor, a chassis, in this case a 6-speed manual. All of it absolutely true. I still feel, however, that if I'm going to spend $46,000, that the plastics ought to be a little bit better. I will give them credit, however, for creating some different tones and so forth. So there's black here, silver, there's a stripe of what looks like very light purple. Not quite my color, but nevertheless something that helps break up the black interior. There's some stitching here as well, which is also appreciated. They have done, I think, with what is here, a really quite nice job. The air vents also have a decent feel to them and look pretty nice as well, and do click in ways that is really quite nice. I do wish that there was just a little elevated level. It would just be, I think, a little classier place to be, and in conjunction with this Alcantara steering wheel and some very clear dials and whatnot, it would be otherwise a really very enjoyable place to be. I think where its looks are concerned, and obviously as always very subjective, I still think it's a very good looking car. This basic design has been around since 2010. We're now 9 years past that, and while they've made obviously incremental changes on it, it's basically the same design, and I think it's still a flattering, muscular, and powerful looking car. There are some nice crease lines along the sides. The belt line here is a bit tall, but still it has a sense of purpose and really looks the part, I think, particularly in black, as this one with the black satin hood, which comes with the track back, really does help make it pop. Ditto the wheels, which are light alloys, also part of the track back, in addition to Brembo's front and rear with nice bright red calipers, also really quite attractive, and I think very much fitting with the ethos of this car. I think as an image and as an emotional device, and I always like focusing on the emotional components of it as to what it is that draws someone to this. It's very classic pony and muscle car, quite obviously, but I think it's very interesting that it is a car that is surprisingly sophisticated. So back when I was growing up as a kid in the 1980s, there was the IROC and so forth. It was a blend of T-tops, bullets, and panel gaps that you could probably fly a plane through, and not all of them actually were in alignment. And yet now, many years later, this is such a different platform. And yes, there have been many changes in the interim years, but this has always been a car like the Mustang and obviously the Challenger too, when it's been around, that has been very much a straight line performance car, and that is simply no longer the case. With its independent suspension and the magnetic ride control, this is really a very compelling product, and very, I think, unique in the sense that it offers up some very enthusiastic and visceral experiences. What surprised me most, I think, has been just the cohesiveness of this package. What is a very taut structure and chassis, a magnetic ride control that really is just, it's exceptional. There's nothing else to call it otherwise. And that in conjunction with some really quite good tech and lightweight components and some other visual finishes, it really feels as though that it's special, and that for those who are going to either want this or obviously go out and buy one or lease one, that it makes you feel unique on the road, that there is a power and a force to it that is not just special, but that other people notice as well. And there have been, certainly on my drive today, a number of people who have given me that quiet little nod, or it's been some other notice that they have projected, or there's been a second glance or something like that. This car does absolutely catch people's attention, and in a very, very positive way. On the topic of value, this Camaro SS 1LE I think is surprisingly good value. So list this car runs about $46,000, but in preparation for this video I was looking to see if there were any 2018 leftovers, and I actually found a few, and they were advertised online for just a little bit under $40,000, which for a new car of this power and chassis dynamics and so forth is just it's amazing, really. This thing will run with an M4 in certain circumstances. It will run with a lot of much more expensive gear, and do so without pounding you into the ground. The engineers at Chevy need to be really congratulated for coming up and creating a package that is very real-world friendly, but also offers just exceptional performance for what it is. I've really enjoyed today. Whether it's the tactile experience around the 6-speed, where each gear feels just a little bit different. And so if I had closed my eyes and played with 2nd and 4th and 6th, I would actually know which one I was in, just based on the feel. The little bit of maybe resistance on one, maybe it's just the way it kind of just ever so slightly changes over to the right. I love that type of storytelling, and to have that in a package like this, with that sort of noise coming out of the back end and a 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 up front, with the type of chassis dynamics and frankly the sophistication that this car has, which is the biggest surprise I've had today. I did not expect that. I expected it to be, raucous and fast, to have a very powerful, visceral experience. I expected it to have a lot of fun, but I did not expect it to be as polished, as cohesive, and as unified as a driving experience. Whether it is this Alcantara wheel and how it feels, and the directness, and how I feel those tires and what they are doing. It's the crisp throttle response, or it's just those Brembo brakes that are incredibly powerful, but just give you that granularity and that feel right from the top of the pedal. The clutch that is good. It's a little bit what I call kind of bouncy, where the actual play area is quite small. I would appreciate it if it was a little bit wider, but nevertheless, that pickup, once I adjusted to it, felt really very, very good. And as a whole, I think that is, really, just very compelling and, really a special thing. So to sum up this Camaro SS 1LE, it's been a real joy to drive this today and just experience the kind of traditional, visceral American power that, many people enjoy and have for decades. I think the biggest surprise to me, as I mentioned earlier, is just the sophistication around it. And yet it still feels very much a muscle car and very much still a pony car. Dennis Shattuck of Car Life magazine back in the 60s, coined the pony car term. And it still is something that resonates with a lot of folks today. Ditto, the muscle car that this really is. And the swell of torque, just where it's hit me kind of right here. I've not always been a huge muscle car fan. The lack of sophistication, lack of an independent rear suspension, and other kind of qualities and attributes have not always been something that's appealed to me. But this is a package that is stepping above what I was expecting in terms of its just overall levels of performance. And so with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you can. Subscribe if you'd like to be alerted to new videos as they become available. If you don't, please head over on to tastefortheroad.com. I'd be happy to send you my newsletter when that becomes available and a new video gets dropped. Most importantly, go out and create your own adventure, whether it's to see something new or to see something that you do know in a new way. And please do share that with us in the comments below. It's really important for the community. So with that, I believe I will bid you adieu, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.